Is it? I can't quite see. Should bring my glasses.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're gonna, okay. Welcome. It's the Emeryville City Planning Commission meeting, Thursday, June 27th, 2013. May we please have the roll?
Commissioner Donaldson?
Here.
Commissioner Moss?
Here.
Commissioner Sherman?
Here.
Commissioner Steinberg?
Present.
Commissioner Tan has an excused absence this evening. Vice Chair Cardoza?
Here.
And Chair Coomerly.
Here.
So we have a quorum of 6 commissioners.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone, any member of the public wishing to speak on items not on this evening's agenda? Seeing none, may we have the action recap? Charlie.
Any comments on the action recap or a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second?
I abstain because I wasn't here.
I think I missed the meeting, so I should recuse myself from voting on that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we still have 4.
Passes?
Okay, without objection, I assume?
Okay, no objection.
Okay.
And director's report.
All right, first and foremost, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our new city manager, Sabrina Landreth. Sabrina started work this week on June 24th. She comes to us from the city of Oakland, where she was the budget director and deputy city administrator, among other positions that she's previously held. Lives right here in Oakland, and would you like to say a few words to the commission?
Hi. So I've met a couple of you. I look forward to meeting the rest of you personally. I'm making every effort I can to come to as many of these meetings and meet all the commissioners. And we'll sit in for as much as I can tonight and look forward to helping you all serve the city of Emeryville. So thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much and welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, in other news, to let you know what the City Council has been doing since your last meeting. They've had 2 meetings, fairly light agendas, so not a lot of planning-related issues. At their June 4th meeting, they considered the Christie Avenue bike path, and they authorized the interim city manager to execute a grant funding agreement with Alameda County Transportation Commission to commit any necessary matching funds for what is officially called the Christie Avenue Bay Trail Gap Closure Project. This project involves the removal of 1 travel lane on Christie Avenue between Powell Street and Shellmound to provide room on the east side for a Class 1, separate Class 1 bike and pedestrian path and related crossing improvements at the intersections. It will provide a continuous bicycle and pedestrian path all the way from the shoreline by Shorebird Park and further north, all the way over to Shellmound Street at Bay Street. And that eliminates the existing substandard connection through the Sheraton Four Points parking lot. So we're pretty excited about this, and kudos to our Public Works Director, Maurice Kaufman, for kind of spearheading this effort. ACTC has committed $550,000 to the project, which we believe is sufficient to build it, so hopefully it'll be there within the next year or so. On June 18th, the council considered the house at 1075 41st Street. This is the house that's right across from Annie Yates School, and it's just east of the little mini park playground thing that was built as part of the Oak Walk project. The council discussed the possibility of acquiring that house and then to resell it as an affordable housing unit, and they decided to refer the matter to the Housing Committee for their recommendation. The house is in foreclosure, its yards are full of weeds and trash, and it's been taken over by squatters. We are concurrently pursuing code enforcement efforts to clean up the property and remove the squatters. and the property's been subject to numerous citizen complaints. So depending on what the Housing Committee says, the council may decide to go ahead and attempt to purchase it for an affordable housing unit. Concerning the Planning Commission appointments, as you all know, 3 of your terms expire at the end of this month. That's Chair Coomerly and Commissioners Sherman and Steinberg. Chair Coomerly has indicated she will be seeking reappointment. Commissioners Steinberg and Sherman have indicated that you will not be. So there are 2 open seats, and as I previously reported to you via email, there are 13 applicants for those 3 seats. I think that might be some kind of a record. The council will be holding interviews of the prospective new and incumbent commissioners on Tuesday, July 2nd and Tuesday, July 16th, and they're expected to make their appointments on September 3rd. As you know, the council is not meeting in August this year, so the next meeting after July 16th is September 3rd. So therefore, Commissioners Sherman and Steinberg will be able to remain as commissioners through the end of August and will be able to take part in the decisions on the ECCL project, which will be coming before you at your next meeting on July 25th, and the Moz project on San Pablo Avenue, which is scheduled to come before you in August. And then the new commissioners' first meeting would therefore be the September meeting on September 26th. And in that vein, the commission usually elects new officers, that is, new chair and vice chair, in July for the upcoming year. In light of the new commissioners not being seated until September, you might want to consider postponing that election until September. So I guess I'd just like to pose that question, whether you want to go ahead and elect your new officers at your next meeting, or do you want to wait until September? Any thoughts on that?
We'll wait until September.
I think it makes sense to wait. I think you're doing a fabulous job. Might as well keep going.
I agree. We'll just wait. What do you think, Buzz?
Fine.
Sounds like a consensus to me.
Okay.
All right, very good. Speaking of consensus, you seem to have a consensus that your retreat should be a nighttime tour of sign illumination. That's what I think I heard at your last meeting. The bylaws say your retreat is supposed to be in September, but since it doesn't get dark really until pretty late in September, I would suggest that you might want to consider postponing this until after daylight savings time ends. So perhaps November, when it gets dark, more like around 5:30 or 6, so you won't have to start your meeting at 9 p.m. Does that seem reasonable? Okay, and then finally, you have postcards in front of you to remind you about the summer concert series, the annual summer concert series. It's getting underway. The first one will be on the 4th of July out at the marina, and so hope you can make it and spread the word about it. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
What's the status of that storage facility at Adeline and 40th Street?
They have submitted for building permit. They've gone through one round of plan check, and they have resubmitted for a second round of plan check. I believe that Arlie is in the process of reviewing this.
I'm hoping to do that tomorrow.
It's on her to-do list. So we hope that they'll be getting a building permit pretty soon.
Great.
And then you'll start to see some action over there.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
With that, we will open up the public hearings. Our first is the Shell gas station rebuild. And Arlie,
Good
Can I
evening, Commissioners.
tell us about it.
Chair.
Been working on it.
So tonight we're considering, or excuse me, you're considering a CUP and design review for the rebuild of the Shell gas station. As you know, this is an existing gas station at the corner of Powell and Frontage Roads adjacent to I-80. It's surrounded on the north and west sides by the Hilton Garden Inn and its parking lot. The bright green on this map shows the Bay Trail. This is a zoom in just to give you a sense. The Bay Trail is on the sidewalk in the bottom right corner, continues north on the sidewalk there, and is a bike lane in the road, and obviously the sidewalk for the pedestrians going to the west. So these are photographs of the existing Shell station, just to give you a sense of what's there. I'm sure you've all seen it many times. And this is a plan of what's existing now. So the car wash is, pull along a driveway here, and the building itself is here with the exit at a separate driveway onto Powell here. There's a second driveway on Powell, on frontage, and then 2 on Powell here. This white building here is the small cashier and convenience store now, and these small white dots are all of the pumping stations. As you can see, it's not extremely well laid out. These 3 stations are double-sided, but the rest of these stations are only one-sided, whereas most gas stations try to have each station be 2-sided. So the impetus for this redevelopment is that it could be better designed and to expand the convenience store. This is the proposed site. The car wash stays on the north side, but slides a little farther to the west, and the driveway wraps around the convenience store, which is here at 2,700 square feet. There is a crosswalk from the Powell Street sidewalk to the sidewalk surrounding the building. That's a raised kind of hump, speed hump, for drivers to go over. The fuel tanks are here. This outlines the canopy. There are 5 two-sided pumps making 10 stations, not 10 pumps, and only 1 driveway on both Powell and frontage. This shows the convenience store with a zoom in for the parking. There are 3 parking spaces in front of the store. Each of the fueling stations counts as one of the parking spaces, and this is why there's only 3. For bike parking, there's 1 rack inside the building here with a door access here for employees, 2 racks here for store users, and in addition, there is equipment, vacuum, air, water, and then trash and recycling between these 2 parking spaces. The trash enclosure sits here with easy access to the parking lot for collection. And there's also a sign here reading "Yield to pedestrians" for drivers entering the driveway here. For the Bay Trail amenities, showing frontage here, these dashed line boxes here are paint on the sidewalk that read "Driveway crossings ahead." And then there's a sign here for drivers exiting, reading "Bikes and Peds trail crossing," as well as a stop sign. The amenities are a kiosk with Bay Trail information, a bike rack, a fix-it station similar to the one out front here, and a bench. This is the east elevation of the store facing towards the canopy. The front doors are here. There is a transaction access and writing shelf kind of window right here. The door to the employee bike parking is here, and the trash enclosure will be removed from the building sitting in front of it in this dashed line, and then the exit from the car wash. The materials for this building include lap siding, ACM panels, cement plaster, IFS accent bands, and I wrote down what that stands for if you're curious. It's about finishing. Aluminum storefront, wood corbels, and wall sconces. So here is where the wood corbel sticks out. And then looking at the south elevation facing Powell, this is the store here, and this is the car wash tunnel beyond. There's an exit door. There are windows facing onto Powell. This dotted line is an electrical service cabinet. And then the 2 elevations facing, in this case, to the west, and in this case, to the north. And again, this is the driveway crosses in front of this building and enters here, or excuse me, the car wash driveway, yeah. Here are elevations of the canopy. This is the view from Powell, from frontage, and from the hotel parking lot to the west. These boxes here are where the signage will be. This roof itself is white with red and yellow striping along the edge. This is the stormwater plan. It's showing the drainage areas. The blue area drains to this planter circled in red. This pink area drains to this planter here. This is the property line, with the city property on the right. So there is an additional planter here for drainage from this area. Here is the landscape plan. These yellow grasses show the plantings for those the stormwater planters, and the remainder is bay-friendly planting. Most are low water use, with the exception of the unspecified flowers, which is the orange coloring here and here, which is a high water use. There are 2 existing trees on site that will be removed. They are here and here. The building is going on top of them. And these, you can see there are 3 street trees, Brisbane box proposed along Powell, as well as 12 of the crepe myrtle throughout the site. This is the site plan showing signage. There is a pole sign here, monument sign here, the 2 canopy signs here and here, the loop sign, which is the name of the convenience store, and the car wash sign here. So the canopy signs will be 3 feet by 3 feet. The monument sign will maintain its horizontal orientation with a simple shell logo and exposed LED for the price signs. And then the pole sign will maintain its existing dimensions of 9 by 9 for the sign, with a total height of 25 feet. Excuse me, and the monument sign is 8 feet tall, 10 feet across.
So the pole sign is the same as the existing
The
sign?
pole sign is, it will move location, but it's the same dimensions. This image is not exactly to scale. It was drawn.
Doesn't look like
right,
it.
Yes,
It looks
it was
way
drawn
taller.
when it was proposed to be 40 feet high.
That's what it
and
looks like,
Yes.
yeah.
So in discussions with the applicant, they agreed to keep the existing height of the sign. So that this drawing is not to the scale that it will be. If you go out and look at the sign that's there, that's the exact same dimensions that will be in the future. It will shift slightly and have new material. It will be a completely new sign, but same dimensions.
And that will be on 24/7? It's illuminated, I take it?
Yes.
Do you know, is it LED lighting?
It is all LED lighting inside the signs,
Oh, boy.
but with acrylic in front of it.
Yeah.
The
Right,
only
I
exposed
understand
LED
that,
are these price signs here. So there's also a loop sign above the door here and a car wash sign above the exit facing towards frontage. And here are the square footages.
Okay.
So as far as conformity, obviously this is an existing gas station. So it's a continuing use, now classified as motor vehicle sales and services service station. It needs a conditional use permit in the MUN with regional retail overlay. I explained the details in your staff report. For car parking, this is our first CUP with parking under the new code. So this is watching it get implemented. The demand for a service station is 12 parking spaces. As you remember, they're allowed to have a range of anywhere from 66% to 110% of that demand, which allows 8 to 13 parking spaces. The applicant originally proposed 15, and when they were informed that they would need an additional use permit for greater than the 13 that's allowed, they lowered that to 13. So the 13 spaces are the 10 spaces in front of the pumping station and the 3 in front of the store. As for bike parking, they are required to have 2 exterior and 2 interior. That's 1 rack each. They're showing 6 exterior, 4 at the store and 1 on the curb, and the 2 interior for employees. And then for landscaping, they're required to have 10% of the site landscaped, and they're showing 13%.
So is it typical to count the pump stations as a parking space?
That is how our code is written. And I believe that's how it was in the past as well.
I'm
think
not
so.
sure, but that's the way the current code is.
Yeah, it specifies that.
I love that.
It seems
Thinking
right.
being that a lot of people, if they're going to run into the convenience store, they just leave their car at the gas pump, and they go in the
Yeah.
convenience store, they come back, and they drive away.
But with 2,500 square feet, they're growing by 5 times. I think people were going to go there without actually getting gas.
Hopefully,
We can talk to the applicant.
hopefully by bicycle or walking.
Hopefully.
Carrying your food on your bicycle.
Yeah.
Continuing with zoning conformity, the design guidelines, the citywide design guidelines are are in the majority met by this project. There are 4 that are at least partially unmet, and they are consider 3-dimensionality of buildings, conceal mechanical and building equipment from the right-of-way, specifically the cabinet along the south wall facing onto Powell, creativity with architectural features using art, color, and detail, and green streets, both Powell and frontage are green streets. Public art should be located along green streets. So the standard conditions of approval do cover the required screening of equipment, and the public art program requires that either art be supplied or a fee be paid. So that will apply. Those conditions are there, but the citywide guidelines are not completely met by the proposed plans. As far as the signage, this project is on a corner and therefore is allowed 280 square feet of signage, and the proposed is approximately 210, so it's well within its signage requirements. The operating characteristics are 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. That is what the current gas station operates as, and it will continue so. For employees, there is 1 full-time and 1 part-time staff person per 8-hour shift. There are 3 shifts per day. The bathrooms will be open whenever the store is and are available for Bay Trail users. You do not need to be a customer of gas or the store. The store will sell soup and salad, packaged food. It will have an espresso machine and obviously auto accessories. There will be no preparation of food on site and no alcohol for sale. The site lighting is generally downward facing and shielded from the surrounding sites. These are the findings for the conditional use permit. They're also in your staff report. In addition, this is a project that requires a use permit in the regional retail overlay zone, and so there are 3 additional findings. All of these findings can be made and were in your resolution. There were comments made by BPAC. There were numerous comments. Most of these were already met in the existing site plan, as far as the signage for exiting and entering and things like that. These are the 2 comments that remain unmet: the colored and textured sidewalk treatment along the Bay Trail segment and bollards or planters along the curb at the corner of Powell and frontage. Were both from BPAC. And then the handout that I gave you this evening that's on the dais was a comment from the public. Tom DeVries, he mentioned that he felt the store was very large. He did comment that it was, I believe, half the size of a football field. That's incorrect. It's about 5% of a football field. And then he also commented that there's nowhere to sit and eat, and there is in fact seating inside the building facing those south windows. So. In addition to the standard conditions of approval, these 6 conditions were added, and the applicant is aware of them. The bathrooms should be available to Bay Trail users. The applicant shall maintain the Fix-It station and Bay Trail kiosk, and shall comply with all state and county requirements regarding the removal and replacement of the underground fuel tanks. The applicant shall make a contribution of 2% of the project valuation for the Frontage Road Median Island project. This is a project the city would like to complete in the future, and the hotel adjacent to the project also made a contribution to this project. The exposed LED on the fuel price signs will not flash or move in any way other than normal price adjustments. And the Brisbane box trees, currently shown only on the east side of the Powell frontage, shall be continued throughout the planter strip along the sidewalk. With that, staff recommends approval of this project, subject to the attached conditions of approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you know why there's 2 rows of prices on the price sign?
I believe that is due to many gas stations these days have kind of a club membership, and if you have a club membership, you get a lower price, but I'll let the applicant confirm that.
And I noticed that there's 1 fewer gas pump than is there now. Are they doing away with the diesel pump?
I'm not sure. I'll let the applicant answer.
When you say the city property, is that the public right-of-way?
It is the public right-of-way.
So what are the restrictions on the public right-of-way, on sort of usage of the public right-of-way? I noticed in the current site plan, it seems to be pretty much just driveways that are in the public right of way, but in the new plan, it's sort of a lot more of their circulation area actually.
There is more circulation. All of the signs are on their property. We made sure that there were no signs on the city right of way. There are a number of utility boxes and things that remain in the city property. Other than circulation, there's no specific use by the applicant on city property. So the landscaping is being reconfigured. The driveways are being narrowed. There's a general redesign of the site, but none of the main uses of the land are on our property. So
I'm also curious about the vents that are required as part of the vapor lock system that BACMD and what maybe the Air Resources Board require now. I'm mostly familiar with like gas station retrofits, and I think those a lot of time end up in a very conspicuous spot. And so I mean, this is essentially starting from scratch, but I was curious sort of how those were accommodated.
I don't recall the exact location of those vents. Again, I'm going to let the applicant speak to that. Any other questions?
Why is it exempt from CEQA if it's a total reconstruction?
Well, that is a CEQA exemption. I mean, there is a specific categorical exemption in CEQA for reconstruction of existing facilities. I think it covers up to 10,000 square feet or of building area or something like that.
Oh, so it's the area then, because it's a replacement, right? I mean, essentially.
Right. I mean, it's not a new use. The use is already there.
Right.
So it's just reconstructing an existing use.
And
That's
the
three,
aluminum
right?
storefront, is that aluminum panel? Is
Those
that-
are windows
Class
with
two.
aluminum framing.
Ah, okay.
Pardon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, class 2.
Have there been security issues here in the past? I am wondering why it's 24/7 operation and 24/7 lighting and lots of cameras, and has there been any reported incidents here?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll refer to the applicant.
Thank you.
Anything else for me? With that, I'm happy to introduce the applicant.
Yeah, I do have one question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I was a little unclear about the 1.5 employees, and there's the operating characteristics it talks about, like if there's one employee there, they do transactions through a window. I wasn't really clear on how that works.
I think I misunderstood the applicant originally. I was under the impression that there would be 2 employees there at all times, but in fact there's 1.5. So the window is generally for when there is a staffing shortage, when they're expecting to have 1 or 2 people and there's not someone there. So they will then temporarily lock the store for all users and use that window to do their cash exchanges there.
Okay, so that's
but
kind of a special circumstance.
it's a very special circumstance, and the condition of approval that addresses that specifically calls out that it will be infrequent and temporary.
Okay.
So, anything else? With that, I introduce Muthana Ibrahim, the representative of the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Muthana Ibrahim with MY Architects, Inc., 2960 Camino Diablo, Suite 100 in Walnut Creek. I would like to thank staff for presenting the project tonight. The property owner is committed to invest in this project, and we are very excited to rebuild this gas station. I would like to go over the questions that have been raised. Regarding the fuel pumps, we're going to keep the diesel. We will have the 3 products plus the diesel. We proposed 5 pumps. That's going to be 10 fueling positions, which is going to be equal to what we have today. Regarding the EVR and the carbon canister and the vent riser, at this stage we have not located that, but we're not using the EVR tank that you see in some of the gas station. We're using a carbon canister which is going to sit on the vent riser, and the carbon canister about 12 inches in diameter by 4 feet long. White, probably you've seen it on some gas stations. It has a less visual effect than having the huge tank like the propane tank the fueling gas stations. We're not using that. Regarding the cameras, basically, for AU Energy, this is standard. That's what they use to on all their gas stations. They have a lot of cameras, good lighting, for security, and the 24 hours. Basically, it's safer for the coroner for this project than having it just to midnight or 11 o'clock. Basically, you'll have attendance 24 hours. If there is any issue at the coroner, somebody on the phone, call the police if there is any problems. I'm not sure if you have any question for me.
Where is the window on sheet A11?
What window?
Okay, sheet A11. We have the entry door, we have two storefront on either side of the entry, and we have the side window and the table and bars. This is facing Powell. This is the side. This is the side window over here, and this
Well,
is the
that's a seating area, isn't it?
There's a counter.
Yeah, there is a counter and bar,
Stools.
stools.
And
But I thought there was, when there was only one person on duty, the store would be locked, and customers that needed service would go to a window?
No, okay. Let me explain that. If we go to the elevations, okay, there is a transaction access here, just 15 by 15. They will use. Could you talk into that? There's a transaction window, 15 by 15 over here, and a writing shelf. They will use this when they have only one operator inside. And basically, most of the time, we're looking to have most of the time, this store is open with two operators. We're not intended to close this door, but there is sometimes somebody calls, a cashier calls sick or something, or, there is trouble arriving to the store and stuff like that. So this transaction access is just for emergency.
But you only have a second person half-time, so the store would be closed when there was second?
No, basically, they will use two people when they need to, and they can use one person when they need to.
And still keep the store open?
Yeah, so basically, they have one 8 hours, and the other person is 4 hours. But if they need to extend the, working hours for the second one, they will have two people each shift.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood. I thought the store would be closed if there was less than two people on duty. That's not correct, then?
Not correct.
I have a question. Is there, if employees need to come by vehicle, is there parking for them?
3 spots.
Well, it seems as though there are 2 spots that are also service spots, and then there is a handicapped spot,
And other than
disabled
that,
spot.
there's nothing.
Usually, the customer, use the pump. This is a gas station. People come.
I'm talking about the people that work there.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
So there is three parking stall in front of the store, and the customer, basically the employee might use one of those spots, or they use the bike, because we have 2 bikes for employee inside.
But those are service, those are like
when you
air
need
and
to-
water
yeah.
spots, so that's not really feasible.
And vacuuming your car after you come out of the,
Okay. Originally, we proposed more parking, but we've been told that we need to go down to 13, and we're counting the fueling positions. And all customers, they don't use those parking in the front of the store. So,
Is there street parking? I can't.
No,
no.
there's no street parking over there, I don't believe.
Okay.
Not on Powell. It's very tight there.
If you did have 15 parking spaces, where were you putting the other ones?
Okay, the front, we didn't have the air water station and the planter in front of the building and stuff. But there is, if you take a look at the corner planter, there's a lot of parallel parking that people can park there.
Yeah,
In gas stations, people use that space because this yard is gonna be, available for them.
I think I see at least 2 other places.
At
where
least
people
2
could-
or 3,
people
and
could definitely park
and
without blocking circulation.
And also on top of the tanks, originally we proposed parallel parking on top of the tank. Because that's not going to affect the circulation for the dispensers below the canopy.
But there's a driveway there. I'm confused.
No, I'm not talking about the driveway. I'm talking about the corner planter.
To their job.
Along the corner planter,
The whole idea.
people can park there. And usually cashier, they bike to the station.
So is there enough room now for parallel parking along that planter?
Yes, yes, there is a dimension, 20 feet, 3 inches or 5 inches, I can see, to the guard post, and that's enough for passing lane and a parking.
Okay.
That's true. That's true. So we could say.
All right.
Are the existing tanks to be removed?
Yes, we're gonna put new, complete fuel system.
And how long will this whole process take?
The reconstruction of the gas station should take about 3 months.
3,
3 months.
oh,
I mean, this is
presuming the gas tanks haven't leaked and,
Well, we go through all the approvals. But generally, when we do a gas station, it doesn't take longer than that, because we do all those tests ahead of time.
So that process requires approval from what agencies?
In addition to the city of Emeryville, Bay Area Quality Management District, CUPA, and the fire department, and hazmat, health department, Alameda County.
What's Coupa?
CUPA stand for, it's for the hazmat of the underground storage tanks. I don't recall that.
Okay, all right.
I can find out, definitely. Yeah.
I guess I have one other question. I guess we could look at the overhead here plan, where the garbage enclosure is and the exit for the car wash. There is a little planting bed. Maybe you can, do you have a little pen you can point to that?
Or
me?
you use the
On the-
cursor, just use the mouse.
I have this. Is
Okay.
this planter area?
Can you do it on the,
Oh,
You have to use
your
the mouse.
mouse?
You have to use the mouse. Oh,
There we go.
this
all
one?
right.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that one right there. Would it be possible to put 2 spaces there if things were shifted slightly?
Actually, this is a spot for the cashier. We can put the cashier would be here.
A parking
Collecting
spot.
the garbage, usually the owner will contract with the company that pick up the garbage, and they pull the bin for them ahead of time, based on the schedule.
Would there
So-
be room for 2 spots there possibly if things were shifted slightly?
There is one parking stall here for the cashier.
Okay.
If I could just clarify, so the 13 spaces are the maximum that they can provide without getting a use permit for going above it. So the parking that you're talking about would have to be very casual and unstriped.
Got it. Okay.
And I
Would
would,
be as people used it, but not condoned.
Not with lines and
Right.
here. Okay.
I would just like to
Understand.
remind the commission that one of the kind of driving ideas behind the new general plan and the new zoning is to try to minimize driving and to promote alternative means of transportation, which was one of the big innovations in our new regulations is to have these minimum and maximum parking requirements. And now you're seeing how that plays out in a real project. You know, it might be a little painful, but sometimes it's painful to get people out of their cars.
Yep.
That was the idea.
But it's a gas station.
It is
It's
So
true.
it's attracting
Generally
people with
serving-
motor vehicles.
Well, there's 10 places for them to park at the fueling stations.
Yeah. Okay. That's all.
And we encourage
Guzzlers here.
our cashiers to bike to the store.
Sure.
Instead of
Look at the
driving.
conflicts here. It's ridiculous.
Are there any
I
other
see a lot of
questions?
conflicts going, if you look at the car wash exiting and the people exiting the pumps and the people backing up, leaving the convenience store, I showed 10 arrows in one area. It's highly congested. You've got somebody coming out of the car wash, got people coming the same way from the pumps, 1, 2, 3 in the same direction as a car wash, and people backing up to get out onto Powell from the convenience store. There's a lot of stuff happening here in one small area. At the very worst scenario. I always like to look at the worst scenario, not the best. So I don't know how you handle all that. Plus, I don't think you have enough parking for the 2,600 square foot convenience store. I'm not asking you to increase it, but I think functionally it's going to be a problem.
I design a lot of gas stations, and the clearance that we put here, but
What's the
closest
distance? What is that, 26 feet? The aisle?
this one is 30
30?
feet,
So
and
that's-
this is more. This is like over 10 feet more. This distance here, and this is even more. I don't see any conflict of circulation on site here, based on my experience, and I've been doing gas stations for a long time.
I hope I'm wrong.
I was looking at that too.
From the staff report, can you comment on the two requests by staff that were not met? The one being the moving the convenience store closer to the corner, and the other being designing the canopy with either a green roof or some sort of more striking architectural style?
Basically, the relocation of the store to the corner in this area, we think is gonna hide the canopy. And usually gas station, once you put the canopy in the back and put the building in the front, you lose a lot of business. And it will not make sense to the gas station owner to invest in this property. And we discussed this with staff ahead of time. Regarding the canopy, basically the finance of this project, if we do design more than what we're doing here, it will be, more costly, and we cannot justify the project.
So, I feel like you're going to know that this is a gas station, even if the convenience store is on the corner. I mean, there's a lot of signage incorporated into the site. Do you don't feel that with all of the signage that is being proposed that that's adequate?
I agree with you, but practically, once the canopy is really the sign for a gas station. People look, once they see the canopy, they know Chevron here, Shell here, another independent here, they pull in. Once the canopy is beyond and you have building, they move on to the next corner. There is a lot of gas station on the road. So based on that, this gas station owner will lose business. That's why we made it clear to the staff when we started this project that if this is the intention, we're gonna leave the gas station as is.
What about moving the convenience store as shown on the plan closer to Powell Street and reconfiguring the car wash driveway?
We tried that, it doesn't work. We tried that, and it doesn't work. This is the best layout for this property. Look at the property here. It's chopping through the lot, and we have to have 5 dispensers here, and a car wash and a store to justify this project financially. Other than that, the property owner will just leave this gas station as is. We tried to locate the car wash and bring this to budding Powell Street, and we did not, we haven't been successful of getting a better layout than this one as far as circulation. Because remember, you have to have the drive-through for the car wash. This drive-through, you need at least 5 cars
Queuing up.
queuing up, and we have more than that over
Yeah.
here behind the building. So this layout, I think, is the best layout for this site.
And there's no escape queue if you want to get off the line.
Okay, this size property, we cannot have escape queue. Basically, if you want to go to the car wash, this is not a full, usually escape queue for a full service car wash. You go in, you change your mind. This is a self-serve. You go in like 5 minutes, you're out.
I wish. I waited online there a long time personally.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sure. But see, this type of car wash, which is the self-serve, usually people don't, they are in a hurry to go through this type of car wash. If they have time, they go to a, more sophisticated car wash,
Okay.
which is the, full service.
I have another question.
Sure.
I really appreciate having the bike fix-it area, and the bench is wonderful. And I'm wondering, would it be possible to design the planting bed that kind of wraps around it and comes out a little bit into the into the sidewalk on either side of the
So you mean,
bench? So south of the bench and north of the fix-it station. Would it be possible to extend that planting area and,
Yeah,
and
I
kind
mean-
of enclose it a
Sure.
little? Because it's very exposed there, and it's not,
So
it
you-
doesn't feel great.
yeah.
And that might
you,
help.
You want to widen the planter at this point?
I would like to widen the planter, but more to the point, I would like to enclose the bench and the, just kind of.
Sure, like
wrap around a
something
little bit.
like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, you can put the condition on the project and we'll do that.
I think it would make it a little more inviting
Yeah,
and.
no problem. And this is the right of way, by the way.
Yeah.
How wide is the proposed driveway onto Frontage Road?
How wide?
Yes.
35, which is, the width is required for the tanker to offload the product on top of the tanks.
What's the existing, width of the existing driveway? on
Okay, the
Frontage Road?
existing driveway, 2 driveways, one for the car wash, let's
Right.
take a look at the survey. One for the car wash and one for the gas station. We combined them into one.
35 feet.
And 35 feet.
Right, but when you combine them into one, you don't need the car wash driveway anymore, because the car wash is now exiting into the
Exactly.
gas station.
Yes.
So the driveway should, you would, logically then the driveway should be
24.
the same
Okay.
width. as-
All right. If you can see those lines here, there is a tanker 63 feet long that has to come 5 times a week and offload, usually in off hours at night and stuff like that. And we usually design those driveway to accommodate that tanker to offload, and they come and stop, on top of the tanks to offload the load. So usually gas stations has wider driveways than a shopping center. Because it's not only cars, there is, the truck, and then there is trailers, and people go.
So can you tell me how the existing tanker circulation works?
They come from this driveway on frontage, and they stop on top of the existing tanks, and then they exit from this driveway. They go like that. We closed this driveway. We moved it over here. So it's basically the same. The route that we have is almost the same, but with less driveways.
Did you look at other sizes for the convenience store? It's not only pretty big square footage-wise, it's also quite tall. it's twice as high as the existing little thing?
The height is standard. Usually, commercial building 15 feet to the roof, and you need a parapet on top of it to hide the HVAC units and stuff. So we're not higher than any normal C-store that we build today. And regarding the size, usually, you know, this size, which is 2589, it's not 2700. 2589 square feet. 2500, less than 2500 square feet is really not going to justify rebuilding this gas station. Please remember, the owner going to have to spend about 2.1 million on this thing. So he needs profit center here so he can, you know, justify the investment. Or otherwise, I mean, he's going to keep the gas station as is.
Any other questions? Yeah? Any other questions?
My only other question is whether the internally lit LED lights are going to be dimmable. If they turn out to be brighter than people are anticipating, will they be dimmable?
Is that for the signs?
Mm-hmm. Well, that and the canopy.
We can put a condition of approval on it, and we can accommodate that. LED is very sophisticated lights.
Yeah.
Basically using the LED, not because to save energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the only, when they are, you know, more technological advanced than other lights, than the fluorescents and incandescents. So yeah, we can put a condition of approval on it, and we'll comply with it.
Is the existing sign LED? I would assume not.
No,
Okay.
that's fluorescents.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
John? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any member of the public wishing to speak on this item?
So you are opening the public hearing?
I am. Sorry, I'm opening the public hearing. Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. And deliberations. Does anyone have anything they want
Well,
to?
I use this gas station all the time because it's the closest one to where I live. I think it's a fairly clean, new building. And again, I never buy anything in those gas station stores anyway, so that I can't identify with them, but I guess what I've heard, rumored, is that the owners don't make a lot of money on the gas they pump. Their primary source of income comes from these stores. But I'm not one of the customers, so I don't know what to say about it.
I have a question to Arlie or Charlie about when I was out looking at the gas station site. There's also, aside from the little monument sign with the prices on it, there's all kinds of miscellaneous signs about lottery tickets and all these different things. Is that something that is supposed to be out there, or?
Those are all illegal signs.
So we can assume that those will go away, right?
Certainly during construction.
Great.
I don't think so.
Is there going to be an ATM in there? Are we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be.
Oh.
But it won't have a sign on the outside saying that. Oh.
Arlie, I have a question, or Charlie, in relation to that, extending the planting area into the right-of-way. Is there any kind of problem with that?
I don't think so. I mean, the planting that they're showing is new, so it would be a reconfiguration of what would be new anyway. And as Arlie explained in her presentation, this project was vetted at the Development Coordinating Committee. Public Works was there. They didn't have any concerns about that. In fact, they're pretty excited about the reconfiguration of the sidewalk and all the Bay Trail amenities. I would note that I believe police was at that DCC meeting as well and didn't express any particular security concerns.
That's correct.
Okay.
I sort of have a couple questions for other commissioners since we're on the topic of landscaping. I had a thought that since the applicant is reluctant or unwilling to move the convenience store to the corner, that it would make sense to have taller landscaping along in that planter to screen. I mean, you can still see the canopy clearly, but there's no reason you need to see the cars and the pumps. So it seems to me like we could have some taller shrubs in that planter, and it might actually sort of frame that area, that new area for the Bay Trail a little better. And so I was just wanted to sort of ask other commissioners who have more of a background in landscape design if if you knew of any bay-friendly and perhaps even native shrubs that might be appropriate for that area.
Would you think of a 3-foot-high hedge or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, one of my comments is that I think that the landscape plan needs a little bit of work because we've got a gas station looks like a gas station. It would be nice to have a little bit more low screening in the front, and it would also be nice to have a little bit more screening around the edges because contrary to what you're looking at on this rendering, the planting plan it's some grasses, mostly grasses in a flat area that look across to where the hotel parking lot is. So I think we need to do a little bit more to soften the edges of it. And similarly, I don't mind so much the convenience store with the windows in the front and all that, but the back side, the rear sides need some kind of enhancement. I mean, the three-dimensionality comment, I think, needs to be addressed a little bit with some more articulation of that building or some more patterning or something on the back and something on the sides where people are going by and looking at it. Mm-hmm. I mean, altogether, I don't mind that the convenience store is at the back because when you come through Powell Street, seeing a great big store, I don't think that would look too attractive. I think it's nice that it's set back a little because it's not in your face so much. But I think it does need a little bit of enhancement.
If it's not in your face that much and there's security issues surrounding this type of use, the line of sight from passerbys is compromised, especially if you put something along the edges. So I'm not so sure you want to add anything that's 3 feet high because your eye level while you're driving is not much more than 3.5 feet high. And if they rely on line of sight for security, we're compromising their security. Plus, I couldn't tell if there was a robbery going on there based on not a lot of glass facing Powell at this point. So there are some security concerns in the design.
I would disagree with that. I think that the planting bed that is on the corner is sufficiently surrounded with sidewalk. There's no line of sight that is impeded.
No, but if you raise it 3 feet as proposed by a couple of the commissioners.
Different heights of planting is, I think, what we're talking about.
I heard 3 feet.
Well, there is already proposed a shrub that gets about 3 feet. So we're just looking for a little more variety, a little bit more bay-friendly, something that relates to the wetlands next door, maybe more rushes, and things that are see-through. There are still things that are see-through relatively.
Okay, don't compromise this line of sight. Good.
Yeah, the thing that I'm pretty excited about having this redo is because it is one of the gateways to the city. So I'm very happy to have this updated and upgraded, and I think it makes sense to have the store in the back. To me, I think the signage when you're coming down Powell towards the marina is very discreet. It is the awning and the one sign on the awning, and so I think there's been some sophistication upgrade to the signage, and I think that's good. But in terms of the planting, it needs to be more interesting and some more softening. The rendering on the color rendering does, as Gail mentioned, have a lot of foliage in the back where there's actually just a parking lot pretty much, so, and one little strip of planting. So anything we can do to maximize the bicycle pump station and the very entrance to our city, that entrance would really go a long way. And less of just the flat ground cover and more rhythm and variation would be helpful.
Commissioner Coomerly, how do you feel about crepe myrtles, the appropriateness of crepe myrtles as in the landscaping and Brisbane box as street trees?
Well, the crepe myrtles are very small, very tiny trees. They often get powdery mildew in this climate because we're so foggy, so it's not an ideal tree.
They don't do as well in Emeryville as they do in Walnut Creek and places like that. They like heat.
They like heat, which we don't get. There are a number of other trees around the city that you could drive around and look at and note the ones that are doing well in the area, because it is a high water table here as well, so there's some issue with that, and that could maybe inform a better tree choice. That's a good point.
Well, this rendering doesn't even show the trees that they're
Yeah, I think
landscape plan.
the Brisbane box seems reasonable, although I don't have a lot of, do you have a lot of?
They seem pretty bomb-proof.
Yeah, they're tough. It's mostly the crepe myrtle is not as good.
Do they get wide in canopy, or are they?
They are wider in canopy than tall, and it looks like that it might be better to have something that doesn't want to go very horizontal here, but that would be up to your discretion, I guess.
So one of my concerns was the width of the tree wells is only 2 feet. Is that going to be sufficient for these size trees?
Not great.
And what
The city, though.
and
Well, it's a continuous strip. It's not just a square, and we have I'm sure that there is a provision about the amount of rootable soil that's
Okay.
required per tree, because we put that in our conditions.
Yeah.
so I concur with a lot of the comments about the landscaping. I think I'm fine with the building where it is. I think it's, in general, this is a big improvement. Kind of, it is what it is. It's a gas station. It's going to be a much better gas station than it is right now. It's going to look better. It's going to function better. It's going to improve the Bay Trail. So those are all great things. And I think probably the area where I would like to see the focus, as other commissioners have voiced, is the landscaping. Let's try to do something as best as we can here. And I think this is also an opportunity for the Bay Trail, and what I'd like to consider is having, and the BPAC made a comment about this, is either coloring the sidewalk, because right now the Bay Trail is very ambiguous. It's very clear as to what it does along the bay, and then it gets to the building to the north of the gas station, and it turns into a sidewalk, and it's not really clear where the trail is. So I think this is a great opportunity to emphasize that this is the Bay Trail, and maybe we do it with colored concrete as an option. If not green colored concrete, to indicate that it is an actual bike trail. Another thing that we might do is do a stamping in the concrete that shows a bike, shows some sort of connection, an arrow or something that really makes it clear that the Bay Trail goes here, the Bay Trail goes this way. I think that would be a huge help, and I think this is a great opportunity to do that.
And there's already some paint that's going on for the crossing. So there could just be another one at the corner, I guess, to say, hey, this is the direction.
Yeah, because when I looked at Google Earth tonight, the crossing is really clear. They've done a really nice job of, this is definitely where the crossing is. What's not clear is the route of the Bay Trail. It's really unclear.
If I could interrupt just for a moment, the Bay Trail is improving their signage. I believe sometime this year, 2013, they're going to be putting a lot more signs, and I believe directional signs as well in the near future. So that at least will become
Be a
clearer.
help, yeah.
I'd also note that the conditions of approval, the way they're written, require the Bay Trail people, which is basically ABAG, it's kind of a subset of ABAG, to approve this Bay Trail kiosk map sign thing. So we want to make sure that it's what they want and that it's consistent with what they have around the rest of the bay for the Bay Trail. So they may have some ideas about signage as well. But as Arlie said, we are due to get a whole bunch more Bay Trail signs.
Okay, I think that'll help. I'd like other people to consider the colored concrete or stamping with something special that emphasizes it. The BPAC committee also mentioned bollards. Might be a good idea there to just give it more of a safe feeling for pedestrians.
Where?
On the whole corner, possibly, in front of the park bench and in front of the bike fix station. I think that was maybe the intent of the BPAC. Because that corner, I see cars zipping around there pretty fast. And that might be something that just gives the pedestrians a little better feeling of safety. And the other concern was really the size of the monument sign being 8 feet high and 10 feet wide. I'm trying to visualize that, and I look at that door frame is, I'm sure, probably less than 8 feet, and so it would be wider than that and about as tall as that, which seems really, really big for a monument sign. And I'd like to get other thoughts on that, if others.
It's bigger than any other in the city then.
Right, it's twice the size of the existing one.
I believe the existing sign is 5 feet high and 8 feet across, and this would be 8 feet high and 10 feet across.
Okay, so I think I'd like to stick more with the size of the existing sign, or have that considered. But other than that, that's pretty much my comments.
I'd like to piggyback on the Bay Trail comment, and also, since one of the conditions is to make sure that bathroom access is for the people that use the Bay Trail, I would like to hope that the sign would include that as well as an amenity that's available to them, courtesy of the Shell station. But I guess that would end up going off to the BPAC. Is that correct, Charlie?
No. You
No?
mean for a recommendation, or the BPAC doesn't have to?
Or, I'm sorry, the Bay Trail, the Bay...
The Bay Trail people.
Yes,
Oh.
sorry, the Bay Trail people.
Yeah, but if you want that information on that sign, I don't think there's any reason not to.
Okay, well, that's a thought to consider.
Or I was gonna say a separate sign, but then you got a lot of signs. Probably all want just the one sign.
One sign.
One sign.
So since we seem to be going sort of topically, I have also some comments about the Bay Trail. I'm fairly concerned about the interface of that driveway with the Bay Trail. I know I've had multiple near misses at that driveway and the one for the Hilton Garden Inn, and so I think the existing condition is pretty lacking, actually, and pretty unsafe. And I appreciate we're trying to make it safer with signage, but I think we've made the driveway wider, and that really concerns me. And I don't know that it needs to be that wide. I think it might be. I think it would improve safety a lot to limit the area where you actually have a conflict between motorized vehicles and bicycles and pedestrians.
Well, I thought that driveway width was really determined by the conditions required by the fuel trucks, which are 60 feet long and need that space to get in. At least that's how it was explained to us.
There are 2 driveways now, and it's going down to 1. So the total amount of driveway width you're crossing is reduced from what it is now.
Yeah, I think it's reduced, but I think it's gonna get more traffic because you have all of well, you only have 2 driveways now instead of 3, so you have more of the gas station traffic is going to be through any one of the driveways, and then as well the car wash driveway is eliminated, so everybody coming out of the car wash is going to exit there as well.
Well, it looks like the car wash people will probably go out to Powell because they would have to go through a fueling tank, a space to get out onto the frontage road.
Seems like the main conflict would be bicyclists and pedestrians walking south as the cars enter, most likely off the freeway from the north going south into it. Would a a sign there be?
I actually think there's more of a conflict for bicyclists and pedestrians heading north, because the visibility when you're turning into the gas station, I think you have better visibility of the sidewalk and of the Bay Trail than people coming out there. You know, you can have a bicyclist coming up this way and not necessarily see them as you're pulling out of the gas station.
I think that could be dealt with appropriate signage, and I think we should put that as a condition of approval, that there be signage there that's warning about bicycles, and whether it's painted on the paving or whether it's a freestanding sign. I don't think that narrowing the driveway is going to accomplish what you need to accomplish, and I think it looks like it's needed for the truck to get in and get the fuel in.
We didn't include that in the conditions because they've included it in the project. There are stencils on the bike path that say driveway crossing ahead, and then there are signs in the driveway that say pedestrian bike trail crossing, and as Arlie said, also a stop sign.
That signage that Charlie just mentioned is only for cars exiting onto Powell.
Right.
That sign could
And
be
frontage.
exiting both driveways. That signage could be added to just to the right of the driveway for people entering.
Yeah, at a minimum, I would like to see a sign for people entering from frontage road, and also stenciling for people exiting onto frontage road.
Stenciling
The sign.
on the pavement as well as the signage?
Yeah.
They watch for bikes, or?
Yeah, bike bed
Bike
trail
crossing.
crossing. Yeah.
And I think you raised another a conflict that I run into at the Union, or on the gas station on the corner of Christie and Powell. If you look at the landscape plan at the far upper right-hand corner, the sidewalk there, I think we should take special care that that's highly visible with the landscaping, and that's an area where the landscaping should be low. Because the visibility is really bad at Powell and Christie at the gas station there, and causes all kinds of conflicts.
And I would also like to make sure that the LED signs are dimmable, including the price signs that are, especially those actually, that are exposed LED, and will be dimmed if complaints arise. So you will comply to that. It would be a condition of approval.
I would like to see the loop sign and the car wash sign as halo lit signs rather than internally illuminated channel letters. I just think they're much classier signs, and they'll really, I think they'll just benefit the business a lot. I think they'll just pop a lot more, and I think it's just a win-win for everybody.
Does anyone else have any feelings about that?
I think that's a great idea. I guess I'm looking for input from other commissioners on the size of the monument sign.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would just note about monument signs is, signs in general, but when you're driving by anyway, signs tend to be bigger than you think they are. I remember when the Chevron station at Powell and Hollis was reconstructed maybe 10 years ago or so, and they were going to put in a monument sign, and they wanted it a certain size, and we thought that was way too big. So, and I was keeping in mind all the various Chevron stations I've seen around Berkeley that all had monument signs, which seemed quite low, and I guessed that they were probably about 4 feet tall. So I went around to the various Chevron stations in Berkeley with my tape measure and measured them, and they were all 6 feet tall. They were taller than I am, you know, and I was surprised that they were as tall as they were, because from a distance driving by, they looked a lot smaller. So But I mean, you do have an existing sign to compare this to, so you have a sense of, scale.
I just keep looking at that doorway over there and the size of that doorway, and it's like, the sign has got to be bigger than the doorway, which seems...
Not sure how visible they are, but we could go back and look at the existing photos. Okay. So this sign here is 5 feet tall. And there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it would go up to 8 feet tall.
And the canopy's going to be the same height or higher? For the pumps? Do you,
The canopy saying the same height?
The canopy, it's required per
you could
code to,
Yeah, thanks.
the canopy, the bottom of the canopy has to be not less than 13 feet 6 inches. But from experience, that height, a lot of people hit the canopy. And you've probably seen canopy in the past where, it's bented, So usually we do the canopy at the bottom 15 feet or 15 feet 6 inches to keep it
and
nice.
this one's 13 here?
No, 15, 1-5.
Well, the one in the
existing one.
picture,
Do you know how tall the
The
existing
existing
one
one,
is?
I am not sure. They usually probably around 13 or 13.6. The code required minimum 13.6.
I actually, now that you're here, I have one more question.
Sure.
The white canopy is, how are you going to clean that? Is that, because it's right on the freeway, it's going to get...
Yeah, that's a
fast.
mansard. It's aluminum composite metal ACM, and usually the canopy, all standard canopy, chevron, shell, they have this material, aluminum composite metal, very nice material, so I don't think it's gonna require cleaning.
Because it's curved, so it's not just a straight up and down. I wasn't.
Yes,
So you haven't had trouble with other
we haven't
gas
had a
stations?
trouble with ACM.
Okay,
It's very nice material.
okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I was going to try to make a motion, or at least suggest somebody make a motion.
Well, I have a question of staff and one more comment to share. What was my question of staff? So the carbon cylinders for the vapor lock system, is there a requirement that those, I mean, I would imagine those would be considered mechanical equipment. Is there a requirement that they be screened somehow?
Is that what this is?
That
There's
is
this-
probably what that is, yeah.
Well, it certainly looks better screened than not screened.
Yeah, I would like to propose a condition of approval that they not be visible from, that they not be visible to a pedestrian from frontage or Powell Street.
There is a standard condition that all equipment be screened, so that would cover that. Obviously, it's not shown on the current plan, but
Okay, just,
I mean, when a project gets approved here and then it submits for building, I take a copy of all the conditions and I highlight everything I'm looking at and I just go through. So if it's in the conditions, then it'll get caught.
okay, keep an eye on it, because I frequently see those located where it's convenient rather than where it's aesthetically pleasing.
There's also a provision in the planning regulations that requires screening of mechanical and electrical equipment. So at or below the level of the equipment, you may remember that. So we had that discussion about roof height and, at the same level as the roof. So in this case, it would be at, ground level or wherever this equipment was. So even if it weren't in the conditions, which it is, it would still be subject to this provision of the code.
So I said I had a comment, but I think I lied. I can't remember it, so.
Well, I'm inclined to go with 6 foot for that that monument sign. 8 foot is very tall.
I would sympathize with that.
Any kind of straw poll on that? Anyone else have any thoughts?
It seems big enough. There's a lot, I mean, the canopy is a sign, there's a pole sign, there's enough advertising. I mean, it's important that the prices be legible, but they can be legible a little shorter.
Well, if everyone's done with comments, I'll make a motion. So make a motion to approve with some amendments, some conditions of approval. The sign, the existing, the monument sign be 6 foot tall,
No more than.
no more than 6 foot tall, and do we care about the width?
Appropriately proportioned.
Appropriately proportioned, sounds fine. That we have signage added for the existing frontage, the existing, entering the frontage and the exit, either whatever seems appropriate in terms of whether it be paint or raised signs. I'm not so sure.
Well, what I heard was what's already proposed are stencils on the bike path and signs for cars exiting from the driveway. And what I heard was additional stenciling on the driveway for the cars exiting and signs for the cars entering from frontage road.
Does that sound right?
Right.
Yes, yes. That the LED signs be dimmable and will be dimmed if any complaints arise. And that the loop sign and the car wash sign be backlit.
Halo, well, yeah, backlit.
And that the, there will be improvements in the plant species selection, that the crepe myrtles will be substituted for a better tree, and that there's a maximum square footage addition to the landscaping at the corner, and wrapping the, the bench and the bike fix-it station to make it a more imageable and memorable corner for our city. Did I get it all?
How about the colored concrete or something to indicate the bay trail?
So,
Is that within our purview to do that? That's off property, that's in the public right of way. Are we able to do that?
I'm confused, yeah. Like,
I think the Public Works Director has some thoughts on that. Unfortunately, he's not here. If we're going to do something like that, it seems like it ought to be more holistic, more of a citywide
yeah.
thing that would cover the Bay Trail all the way from Ashby to at least Shell Mound.
I feel like if it's just in this one corner, it's kind of like, what is going on? If it was continuous throughout the whole Bay Trail, it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree with that, but also I know that the Bay Trail right now doesn't function very well because of, and maybe the improved signage that's coming will help, but maybe a compromise is just to a stamped concrete that has a bike that says Bay Trail or something with an arrow. Something, it doesn't have to be extravagant, just even if it's one slab of the sidewalk, that indicates that this is where the Bay Trail goes.
Well,
So are you
Emeryville
saying
now
stamped, or
share
are you
the
saying,
walk signs and,
are you saying stamped or stenciled?
Stamped, I think, would be preferred.
Well, wasn't there some public art element that was needed to be included? Could there be some kind of stamped or medallion placed in the concrete there?
It's the applicant's choice to either pay a fee or provide the art. So either way, it's the same value, and it's a percentage of the construction cost.
I'd be open to that idea.
That would be a
Well,
lovely idea.
The
right?
public art is technically, I believe, supposed to be on the private property and not on the public right-of-way.
Oh, well.
To what extent is flat work going to be required, or to what extent is concrete work going to be required by the sort of reconfiguration of the driveway?
I believe
Already
all
in
new
the-
curb and gutter
Yeah.
sidewalk is always being poured.
Oh. So
There-
along the whole frontage, we're getting new sidewalk.
Believe so.
Yes.
Okay. So, seems like if we're getting new sidewalk, we can
Have a
require them to.
way arrow added in for the Bay Trail. I'm not sure how we can,
I don't really think that there's a value in doing something integral to the concrete that's just going to happen in this one spot. I can see a stencil or something saying Bay Trail, because it is confusing. I'm hoping the signage will make a big difference, because it's confusing all the, all the way up past Chevy's. and under Powell and everywhere else, but I don't think that doing something to the concrete in this one spot is going to resolve that.
Can I make a suggestion? That that it be the same color of concrete, but not the texture, because I hate that texture, but the same color of concrete as the plaza at Shorebird Park, because that's pretty consistent. There would be one gap then probably in front of Hilton Garden, but other than that, it would be pretty consistent.
There is some kind of special paving in front of, what's the address of that high-rise? 2000 Powell, I think?
2100.
2100 Powell. I'm not sure it's the same color as Shorebird Park. Might be.
What is the treatment?
It's
Kind
sort of,
like-
it's a textured, which
It's
is
an
awful
awful-
if you're riding a bike.
At
but it's
Shorebird
sort of a
Park,
muted
it's like these
brown color.
cobbles.
Cobblestone.
Cobblestones.
terrible.
Yeah.
We all hate it.
It's terrible.
We don't want that.
Well, we don't want the texture, but I think the color is
color.
fine. Right.
It's kind of a pinky hue.
We already have new concrete at the corner, and we're going to start patching in different colors. I'd rather see it match and look like it's one piece.
May I suggest that you perhaps express your strong preference to me to convey to the Public Works Director for a uniform and legible treatment of the Bay Trail throughout the city?
That sounds like a
Excellent.
great-
That sounds really great, Charlie.
Good.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Happy to help.
Here.
And then, did I mention having a note on the sign about that the bathroom was available?
You did not mention that, but I did have a note about that.
Okay.
So,
That's the motion. That was a lot of things. Maybe you could
I'll try to
read that
recap.
back to.
In no particular order. Let's see. All the signs shall be dimmable and shall be dimmed if complaints are received. And may I add to that, to the satisfaction of the planning director? So we have
Yes.
some closure. That the loop and car wash signs would be backlit. That there will be additional trail stencils on the driveway exiting the gas station and signage for cars entering from from Frontage Road. Signs to include, the Bay Trail sign to include information that the bathrooms are open to Bay Trail users at all times. The monument sign shall be no more than 6 feet wide and appropriately proportioned, which I assume means
6
This-
feet tall.
6 feet tall, I'm sorry, 6 feet tall. And the appropriate proportions, I assume, means proportions of the proposed 8-foot tall sign. In other words, the width would shrink
Would shrink.
proportionally.
Proportionally.
Okay. Then there was a couple of conditions about landscaping, which I must confess I didn't quite fully understand. Well, there's one about landscaping, reconfiguring the landscape strip at the corner to enclose the bench and the fix-it station area. That's pretty clear. A better tree than crepe myrtle, and I heard something about just better landscaping. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I think we wanted more variety in height, but when you look at the landscaping plan, they have a number of different plant material in there, which would appear to come up to different heights, but the rendering doesn't show that.
So
May I suggest that the conditions say that the landscaping plan be revised to the satisfaction of the planning director, who may consult with Chair Coomerly and Commissioner Donaldson in that endeavor?
That sounds
Okay.
Is that, do you mind being consulted?
No.
I would just add that we'd like to maximize the planting area in that, along that corner corridor as well. Square
Right,
footage.
reconfigure to maximize the planning okay.
Okay, so is there anyone? who would
second that.
second that?
Excuse me?
I second all of that.
Oh, okay.
So we can call the roll.
All right, did we get it all?
Yes, we
That's
did.
everything I have.
I think so.
Okay, Commissioner Donaldson?
Aye.
Commissioner Moss?
Aye.
Commissioner Sherman?
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberg?
Aye.
Vice Chair Cardoza?
Aye.
Chair Coomerly?
Aye.
6 ayes, the application is approved. This decision may be appealed to the City Council within 15 days.
I think it will clean up the corner a little bit. I think there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff sticking up at that gas station, and it'll look better.
And it's a regional serving, and it'll also now be other kinds of transportation serving as well, feet and bikes. So thank you very much. All right.
All right, you're up.
Our next item on the agenda is family-friendly residential section of design guidelines. Diana Kina will be presenting.
Yes, this is a proposal to add a section to the Emeryville design guidelines about family-friendly residential units. Projects, not just project units, and it has a history. Back in May of 2010, the City School Committee heard Homaira Yusufi's report from UC Berkeley on affordable housing in schools, and it said that family housing near a school improves student stability and performance, partly because the families aren't moving away all the time trying to find good housing. And then a month later, the housing element of the general plan was adopted, and it has a policy to promote housing designed to attract families, which it defines a little bit, and I'll talk about that some later. Emeryville design guidelines were adopted that year, and they have a little section on family-friendly housing, but we want to expand it. And what it has now is to have a variety of unit sizes, to have the units have direct access to courtyards and streets, to have soundproofing, good soundproofing, ample storage, halls for the kids to play in, and laundry facilities in the units. And then in January of 2011, MIG gave a presentation on fostering child-friendly housing and child-friendly city. And they had some pointers about design and amenities, and these have evolved into what you see tonight. Then in 2012, Economic Development and Housing intern Anna McCorvey put together a report on successful, affordable, family-friendly housing, and she addressed the neighborhood, the development project, and the unit design. And we have Catherine Firpo here from that department, and her request for proposals for the 3706 San Pablo Avenue affordable family housing included a checklist that was based on that report. And so that went to the council for approval in September of 2012, and it had the same three subheads as Anna's report. Then in February of this year, the planning regulations were adopted, and they have a table of bonus points. And there's one for family-friendly units, which are somewhat defined. And part of that definition is that they have to meet the family-friendly guidelines in the design, in the Emeryville design guidelines. And so I guess it was probably Catherine's department's initiative that we would like to have the guidelines they were using in this RFP crafted into something that would fit into the citywide design guidelines, and that's what we're bringing to you now. They became a little more easy to interpret, so kind of physical and specific, and a little bit less about approach, so that they'd be really easy to administer and more like a set of standards. So here's what we're proposing is of the existing 2 pages, we take the family-friendly part out. That part all gets sort of included in this, and we added a couple photos and rearranged those 2 pages. And then we added these 2 pages. This one's about site design. It says provide units with 2, 3, or more bedrooms. To get the density bonus, they only count for 3 bedrooms, but the project can have 2, 3, or more bedrooms. Units. Situated as many family-oriented units as possible adjacent to open space appropriate for children's play. That's what's in that top drawing, which I sort of cobbled from one of the RFP responses for 3706. Provide exterior play areas that are safe and visible from major spaces in the home with age-appropriate equipment. Design visible places where preteens and teens will want to gather. In larger projects, like if there's 100 units, consider dividing the project into sections where the residents have exclusive access to their common and circulation areas. So you might have 2 or 3 different villages in a big project. Provide visual privacy between units. Provide more bicycle parking than the code requires, with space for longer family bicycles and trailers, lockers for bicycle gear, a fix-it station, and ample views into the parking from common areas in the project. And then the bottom set of drawings are about this one. For units that are adjacent to common open space, provide access through transition spaces between the units and the common space. So basically you want a porch or something that sort of approximates a porch. And then about the units, provide high-quality soundproofing and enclose the entry foyers to reduce noise and increase privacy. Provide enough storage space. Provide wide hallways for indoor play, strollers, tricycles, walkers, and such. Provide windows that allow for supervision of children outdoors. You can see that in the drawing, little sliding glass door maybe. Provide distinct, adequately sized family dining areas and family living areas. In this example, there's 2 rooms. Doesn't have to be 2 rooms, but has to be room for both and without all the circulation happening across the dining table. Provide laundry facilities in each unit, and separate the bedroom and bathroom area from the living room, dining room, and kitchen area. Provide space that can change use as children grow, from like toddler play to homework to music making to gathering or whatever. And design units with infant and toddler safety in mind, such as stairs that can take a toddler gate, or no open stairs, or no glass room dividers. And so Catherine gave me some examples from the RFPs for 3706 of bad design and good design. So this is an example of how we can use these guidelines in real life. In this one, the bedrooms are separated by the public areas. And not only that, you have to go through the public areas. I can't tell if you do or not. I have to go through the public areas to get to the bathroom.
In the left one you do, in the right one you don't.
Yeah.
This is actually Parkside.
Oh.
It's not a proposal.
Oh, okay. This is not one of their proposals.
It's also Parkside.
Also Parkside. Really, this is a real unit. This entrance looks like it's into a bedroom. The unit entrance. It's into a private area. Here, the table is squished into the kitchen, and if you pulled out the chair, it would bump up against the stove or the counter. And the kitchens don't get a whole lot bigger as the unit sizes get bigger. And here, the dining table is in the middle of where the circulation is between all the doors. And this is good design for the site. There's a sandbox right outside the laundry room. People can watch the kids play as they do the laundry. And there's a teen room that's right outside of it are seating and a basketball court. So those are good examples of good adjacencies in the site plan. And this is an example of a good unit design. The bedrooms and the bathroom are over kind of in one area, and you can get to the bathroom without going through the dining, kitchen, living area. And there is ample dining room and ample living room. So as I was doing this PowerPoint and going through all these previous meetings and documents and making sure that we got everything in here except one thing. So we would like to propose adding it at this point. And that is a community multi-purpose room. The general plan policy about family-friendly housing includes community rooms and multi-purpose rooms that can be used for after-school homework clubs, computers, art, or other resident activities. The MIG presentation included indoor playrooms that can accommodate multiple ages in a large space. Of course, we don't want to require little tiny projects to have one of these, so staff would like to know if you would like to add a guideline. It would fit at the bottom of the site design page. Provide a community multi-purpose room in projects with 30 or more units. So you can talk about that. And that was the end of my presentation until we got an email at 5 from Kyrie Tan, Commissioner Tan, who can't be here tonight. So I'd like to just briefly address her thoughts. She wants to make sure we still say that there should be units on the ground floor as we did in old J22, and that sort of morphed into the new J23, which says situate as many family-oriented units as possible adjacent to open space appropriate for children's play. So I think that addresses that. Windows with locking stops to prevent toddlers from climbing out of windows. That's a good idea, and it's easy to add to J48 where we have examples of how to have toddler safety. Low VOC finishes, there is a bonus point for LEED, and low VOC finishes are part of LEED, so I think that takes care of that. We don't need to do that here. Bedrooms don't have to be together. That might be true. Might be the parents want to have privacy and have some rooms in between them and the children's bedrooms. But the main thing is that you can get to the from the bedroom to the bathroom without going to the living room where the parents are having a cocktail party while the kids are getting ready for bed. So we could add something to that saying that sometimes bedrooms can be separated, maybe if the purpose is to provide privacy for parents or older children, as long as there is separate access to a bath. So something like that. She also talked about adaptable units, and the planning regulations do give bonus points for universal design. So I think that covers that. So all in all, I think that what this adds up to is modifying J48 to add window locks and modifying J46 to clarify that sometimes the bedrooms can be separated. So now I am done with my report, unless you have any questions.
I have a question. So the most important part about this to me is that it's part of the incentives program. That these are sort of the guidelines that drive the incentive for family-friendly housing. And so I was hoping you could sort of remind us how the incentives program work. I know the points that you need are dependent on sort of the extent of the bonus that you're asking for, but I wanted to sort of go through that real quickly.
I did bring that page. Is it easy to do this?
Just hit input.
The int X button?
Yep. Hit it one more time. Just hit it one more time.
Okay, it's the middle one. So you get 2 points. Oops. You get 2 points for each percentage of units that qualify as family friendly, and it's defined as 3 bedrooms, in-unit laundry, 15 square feet of common open space for each unit, amenities for children, teens, or seniors, in addition to the common open space that's required elsewhere, and it has to comply with the provisions of the design guidelines relative to family-friendly housing and be approved as part of design review for the project.
But what's the formula for the number of points required as a function of the incentive sought?
So a point is a percentage of the distance between the by right height density FAR and the total that could be allowed.
So for each percentage increase that you're seeking, or for each percentage of that difference that you're seeking, you need 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like for example, if you're in the 30 to 55 foot height district, then what we call the bonus increment, which is the difference between the bonus height and the by right height, in that case would be 25 feet. So you get 1% of that for every bonus point that you get. So if you want to add 12.5 feet to the height of your building, you would need 50 points, which is 50% of the bonus increment. Right? So in this case, you get 2 points for every percent of units that are family friendly up to a maximum of 50. So if you had 25% of your units were qualified as family friendly, that is met all these guidelines and all these other requirements, you get 50 points. So you'd get your 12.5 feet.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay. Catherine, do you have anything to add?
No, I do want to say that our intern, Anna,
Catherine?
Come on up to the microphone.
she did produce a document that is the City of Emeryville, what we use for the affordable housing. So this is on the website, and we can make it available to you if you're interested.
And can I add, that has more in it than these standards and is a really good idea for anybody developing family-friendly housing to read. It's there, we kind of boiled it down to what we administratively could really, what you would put in standards. But it has more about the approach, and, yeah, it's a good read.
There's also, in this document, there's issues around services provided. This is not just the physical. It's also the services that should be provided at the development.
So is there a way to include that document in the recommendations,
Maybe a reference to it?
referenced as a design guideline, or?
We took what was really definable from it.
Well, yes, but there's a number, you're saying there's a number of really good points there that were, just as a way for developers to additionally reference other ideas about family-friendly housing.
We
Is there a
could
way to
put it
include
as-
it in as a,
Like, we could put it as like a footnote on this
Yeah.
page if you would.
might be a good idea?
Yeah, the issue here is that these being design guidelines, they come into play when you're applying for these bonus points and when we're doing design review. When you approve a design review application, you have to make a finding that it complies with all applicable design guidelines. And we want to be careful that we don't incorporate this document by reference, so that then everybody has to not only go through the design guidelines, but also through that whole book and make sure they comply with everything in order to get their design review approval. But I think if we just list it as a useful reference, an FYI
that's
kind
all.
of thing, that
Yeah.
would be okay.
I have one other question. I wasn't clear about the intent of guideline J36. In larger projects, e.g. over 100 units, consider dividing the project into sections where residents have exclusive access to their common and circulation areas.
What's the purpose of that?
Yeah, I'm just not clear on the language and what it means.
One of the issues that came out of this document is that there's security issues. If you have a large population, if the entire population has access to every part of the development, that it's hard to control people coming and going, people coming to your door. And so the idea is that you create smaller areas in which only the people that live in those units have access to, and that it's not just about security, but it's about forming community around those neighbors. And there's some issues around actually designing spaces for people who are going in and out of those units to meet their neighbors and talk to their neighbors and have that sort of community sense.
So, for example, if you had a building of 100 units, instead of having one courtyard that all 100 units accessed, you'd maybe have two that 50 units apiece accessed or something.
Right,
like
or if all the units access one courtyard, there's a card key system that says, okay, the people who are going from this courtyard to these units can only get into these units, or only get into these units, or only get into these units. So the idea is that the circulation space might be designed so that there's smaller areas where people meet up within the smaller communities that you're developing. And yes, you could actually create your open space around those smaller communities if you want, or just make it so the access to the open space is more controlled.
Thank you. Diana, I guess I did have one other question. When you mentioned the community rooms, you wanted to add that in as a staff recommendation?
Right.
Is it in here? Is it in the,
No, I thought of it when I was preparing my PowerPoint.
can you read it to me again? I just
Sure.
sort of
Let's see.
taking it all in there.
It would be a new J40 at the bottom of the site design section, I guess, and then all the ones under unit design would get renumbered. Did you?
Let's say,
Oh,
I think I wrote it here before I put in the PowerPoint.
provide.
That provide a multipurpose community room in projects with 30 or more family-friendly units. Thank you, Arlie.
Great.
Well, that would have to be broken down by age group somehow, wouldn't it? Or it would have to be staffed in some way?
Well, it's a question of how much we want to get into that at the design approval stage. If the room is there, then the HOA or whoever can decide how they want to use it.
Right, so in this design, right here is a community room next to the laundry. And outside of the community room, you can see there's a spot for seating. So that's what we're referring to.
Great.
It's one of the proposals.
Any other?
I have a couple of, public hearing. It's a public hearing.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public wishing to speak? Please come up. You have 3 minutes to speak, and when you're done, could you sign in for us?
I'm a little hesitant to speak tonight because I feel
Chime in, please.
somewhat awkward now. I'm part of a team that is a finalist in the site at MacArthur and San Pablo. But I came to really talk about the design guidelines.
And excuse me, you are?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Mike Piatak. I'm an architect with 45 years' experience, nearly all of that with family housing and nearly all of it for low-income housing in low-income neighborhoods. And I was tapped in 2010 when you had that report being done. One of the 2 projects in that report was one of our projects out in East Oakland that was held up as a good example of what should be done for family housing. And when I got the guidelines, really as part of the package for that competition, I saw some voids, missing pieces that are really very important for family housing. And I would be glad to share that with you after this competition is over, so that there's no conflict of interest on this. But there are some aspects of family housing that did not make it into those guidelines that I think are extremely important. We can't really package families into the same building types that we do for seniors and for singles and couples. It's a different building type, quite a different building type. And the unit types are different too. And those of us who have experienced this, when we see some of the unit plans that are being compared as good and bad, we have the opposite reactions to what staff was saying about what's good and bad. So I do think it needs a little more closer examination, because you're going to be applying these to projects that could cause a lot of consternation by those who've been doing it for decades. I would suggest, as an alternate for people like myself who really need to be recused from this, an architect who works for HUD, Ron Bedford's been doing it for years. He used to do it also for CHFA, review unit plans and advise developers and their architects on what really works and doesn't work for families. He's about the best pro I've ever seen at this stuff. And he's in HUD, so it's kind of a real arm's length removed from any private sector stuff. So that would be a good example of somebody whose opinions you might want to tap before you finalize this and concretize it as a policy. Those are my comments.
Thank you.
You sign in, please.
Yeah, could you sign in for us? That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Commissioners? Thoughts?
I have a couple of comments. On guideline J32, it's just sort of an odd construction. Provide units with 2, 3, or more bedrooms, which saying 2 or more bedrooms would mean the same thing and just would make more sense.
One thing I would like to note is that I think it was the City Council, when the new planning regulations were adopted, this bonus for family-friendly housing, as you may recall, previously said 2 or more bedrooms with an average of 2.5 bedrooms, and the council changed that to 3 bedrooms. They just wanted to be a straight 3 bedrooms, period. So you don't get the bonus points unless you have at least 3 bedrooms. So I don't know if we want to modify this guideline to just scratch the 2 and just say 3.
Yeah, 3 or more.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Naomi?
And then my other comment is actually on the residential guidelines. J26 says design ground floor units to include windows that face onto the street. At the same time, ensure the privacy of residents by considering the interior floor height, window height, and other design factors. And I think that's great. I was actually this is a really important issue for me, and coincidentally, I was just discussing it, this very issue, with a principal from MIG this afternoon, and I think that this is great. I mean, the intent of this is right on the money. I would strengthen it a little bit. I think the important thing here is that the residents inside the unit have visibility of the street while sort of minimizing the visibility, providing perception of visibility from the street into the unit, but minimizing the actual visibility into the unit. So you have large windows on the street, but you can't look right into someone's living room or someone's bedroom or whatever the space is. I think especially on busier streets, that's really important. So I would strengthen it to say something along the lines of sort of maximize the visibility of the street from the interior of units while minimizing the provide windows facing the street that maximize visibility of the street from the interior of the unit while minimizing or maximizing privacy and minimizing the view into the unit from the street, or something to that effect.
You can actually do that pretty effectively with Venetian blinds.
That's
that's another.
That's what I have in my house. You know, you tilt them a certain way, you can see out, and they can't
Right.
see in.
Yeah, I find that more often than not, people just leave the blinds closed all the time. So it does. I think there are a lot of window coverings that really hinder the goal of this, and I think the aim of this is to really provide windows where you from the street, so the floor height is higher, and when you look in the window from the street, you're looking upward to the ceiling of the unit or that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, could we also promote stoops and setbacks like we did in the olden days? Just to play upon Jane Jacobs in the eyes of the street. If you want to provide space for people to congregate and people to actually sit and converse with neighbors, I think the street wall and setback is really important, and that could add a little level of security as well.
We did that at elevation 22, and also to the annex to the place where Sean lives, and I've never seen a soul out on any of those stoops.
That's sad. I wish they did that at Glass House.
Policy J30 does say provide visual interest and improve quality of life for inhabitants through use of stoops,
I see the
porches,
stoops.
recessed windows, bay windows, and balconies.
I like that.
I would note.
Worked.
It's there.
Okay.
It's in there.
Okay.
The reason that we included this section, the residential, is just to illustrate what it would look like after that one guideline was deleted from it.
Mm-hmm.
The main focus is the new family-friendly guidelines.
I had a couple of comments. I thought it would make sense to put J37 about visual privacy between units back into the all residential, because I think it's important for all residential, and the same with J39 for units that are adjacent to common open space, provide access through transition spaces. That and the graphic that goes with it are something that I think is just a good design feature for anybody's unit that's opening onto common space. And on the residential, where the picture was swapped out with the landscape walkways, I'd like to see a picture that has actually a better landscape walkway, because I don't think this one works very well.
You have an idea of one in Emeryville?
I'll look. But this one is just, it closes in, it's got hiding spaces, it's not working very well.
I added a couple photos because when I took the section on family-friendly housing out, I had like one photo more than would fit on a page, and I was trying to fill up the pages.
Is that
I'll
blue
look for
star
another one.
corner, that image?
What?
Is
No.
that blue star corner, that image? No? Is
No, it's,
No,
but that's a
it's-
thought, that might work.
Yeah.
That one is better.
Yeah.
That one is better.
It doesn't have to be an Emeryville.
This is elevation 22.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is that Paseo thing.
yeah, that Paseo thing. And I would be, I mean, I think that family-friendly housing is something that we have not done well, that we need to do better, and I would be interested to find out if there are really differing opinions about what should go in here. I would be interested in putting this off for another period of time to get a little bit more input so that we do it really well, because I think it's a really important part of our guidelines.
Well, I think part of it is economic, that this family-friendly housing is very nice, but it costs more money to build. Therefore, the unit is more expensive to rent or to buy. And the only successful family housing that we've really built is low-income affordable housing. And I'm on the housing committee, and we reviewed 9, or I think it's 9, or is it 11? 9 submissions that have been made for that site at MacArthur and San Pablo last night. And they go all over the place, but they're actually, most of them are very interesting, done by very knowledgeable affordable housing developers. And that's the real potential for this sort of thing, I think. That the market rate units are going to be pretty tough for family housing.
Well, it's still, if the people are interested in getting their bonuses and want to include family housing for that reason or whatever reason, or maybe they just would like to see our community be more balanced,
Well, the
I think we
problem
should
is
have
you
good
can't-
guidelines.
You can't have 1-bedroom units and 3, you can't have families living adjacent to single people, because the noise and problem becomes an issue. That's.
Well, then things need to be designed appropriately.
Yeah, right.
That's
There has to
up
be
to
a
the,
certain separation.
that's up to the architect, yeah. I would second that we, if we were going to be seconding anything, but that we contact maybe even that Ron, what was it, Ron Bedford, or someone at HUD, or just have it vetted by another party. I think that would be a great idea.
Okay, so continue it and bring it back
Yeah.
in a month or two after we've consulted with
Yeah. Yeah.
others. Yes, thank you.
And I had one other little comment on the new desirable pictures on the page 65. I think we should take out the corner treatments and other architectural features provide attractive design picture, and maybe we could do a better one there. Doesn't even have to be in Emeryville. It's just a thought.
That's where Sean lives.
What's the other one?
And you don't like my building.
Oh, this one.
Looks like a prison tower.
You don't like Sean's building?
Oh. I do not. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
People don't like my building either. I would also just add the provide a community multipurpose room, add that in there. I think that really makes sense.
Yes.
And also on J48, include the window stops for toddler-proof or resistant windows or something like that.
Yeah, I would support all the additions that folks have mentioned. Have you guys been writing them down? Yes, excellent. And I would, I think the staff's recommendations for a community room as well is great.
I have one more, actually. I would add to J40, I think soundproofing is really important, and I would add language that it should surpass the existing building code requirements for soundproofing, because I think they're more frequently than not inadequate. And yeah, I also want to thank the speaker that we had for sharing his thoughts, and it's good to have sort of more thoughts on this, I think.
Important. Any other comments? Okay, so I move that we postpone making a decision and get some more input
Fine, okay. I think you can direct that.
Okay, I'll just direct it. We're good then. All right, are there any commissioners have any comments? About, great, all right, well, pretty excited to see if there's any changes in this family-friendly housing, because it is so important, and, you know, design is people first, so this is where we are looking to head with the building of our new school, et cetera, so I'm hoping for even more input. I think that would be great, and thank you all for coming tonight.
And thank you for your efforts on this so far. I mean, we really,
Yeah,
it's a good start.
yay. All right, meeting is adjourned.